Yo, it's Auntie Jessie. We got to take a look at this shit, okay? I haven't really seen a whole lot of news stories that I'm like, I should cover that or something, because everyone kind of knows what's going on with the big shit, you know? But this is interesting. This is coming from finance.senate.gov. This is a government website that I am reading this from. This was published on July 17th of this year, okay? And it's in the news section. So this has been sitting here for a minute. They didn't forget to delete it, or maybe they did forget to delete it, or someone didn't go in and clean up and, remove the unsavory remarks about Trump and whatnot. So I guess if they don't know, then maybe you didn't know either, because I certainly didn't see this before. So, again, this is on the news tab, the newsroom tab on the finance.senate.gov website. July 17th, 2025. As Trump downplays Epstein, Wyden unveils details of Treasury's undisclosed Epstein file. Finance Committee ranking Democrat continues years-long follow the money investigation of Epstein finances. And apparently we could watch a video of his remarks, but let's just read this shit, all right? Because you got me, Donald Trump says a lot of outlandish stuff. I don't think he said anything more outrageous or stunning than what he said yesterday, declaring the interest in the Jeffrey Epstein matter a hoax and a scam. Well, my God, listen, my friend from the past, he's now just openly talking about stealing girls. So it gets worse every day, guys. Just, you poor pathetic thing, thinking that this was as bad as it was going to get. The figure at the center of this story was an ultra-rich, well-connected sex trafficker. He was a serial rapist of women and girls. And for some reason, the Trump administration, a bunch of people who claimed they'd be the most transparent administration ever, turned on a dime. Trump ran on a promise to expose the Epstein files. Now he and Attorney General Bondi say there's nothing more to investigate at all when it comes to Epstein and sex trafficking. It is literally unbelievable. If you want to know why, just look at the latest bombshell from my investigations reported this morning by the New York Times. Somewhere in the Treasury Department, locked away in a cabinet drawer, is a big Epstein file that is full of actionable information. Follow the money details about his financing and operations that await investigation. Last year, the Biden administration allowed Finance Committee investigators to look at portions of the file in person over at the Treasury building. Oh. Well, if they had the information for the last 5 years, then why didn't they do something with it? They did. Here's some of what it says. Treasury's Epstein file details 4,725 wire transfers, adding up to nearly $1.1 billion flowing in and out of just one of Epstein's bank accounts. If you ask me, that's 4,725 potential lines of investigation right there. Hundreds of millions more flowed through other accounts. That's even more to investigate. The file shows Epstein used multiple Russian banks, which are now under sanctions to process payments related to sex trafficking. A lot of the women and girls he targeted came from Russia, Belarus, Turkey, and Turkmenistan. You shudder to think about the kinds of people who must have been involved in trafficking these women and girls out of those countries into Epstein's web of abuse. Again, these are all potential leads that the Department of Justice ought to be digging into. This is about years and years of international sex trafficking. None of this is a hoax. None of this is a scam. It's insulting to the intelligence of the American people when Trump and Bondi say there's nothing here to investigate. I mentioned a moment ago that Finance Committee investigators reviewed portions of the Epstein file last year. When the Trump administration came in with a whole lot of fanfare about transparency and openness, I decided to put it to the test. I wrote to Attorney General Bondi, Treasury Secretary Bessent, and FBI Director Patel, seeking that they produce the Epstein file to the Finance Committee for further review. In fact, I have made that request multiple times. The Trump commitment to transparency didn't really mean a whole lot after all, because they refused. Here's what the Treasury official, or a Treasury official, wrote back to me. The Department of Treasury has previously made documents available relating to this matter in response to your inquiries. Accordingly, we understand that you have the information you seek from the Treasury related to this request. We thank you for your attention to this important issue. That was written by AI. For anybody who's unfamiliar with how these discussions usually go, that's just basically Washington lingo for go pound sand. The Trump administration may be closing the books on Epstein's sex trafficking, but I am not ready to give up. Far from it. I'm going to have more follow-up for Attorney General Bondi very soon. As for today, if she doesn't want the DOJ to do any of this investigating, I'll renew my original demand. The Trump administration ought to give the Treasury Department's Epstein file to the Senate. Let the Senate follow the money. If Trump's people think they need additional authority to make that happen, I'll help them write the fucking bill myself. The idea that there's nothing more to investigate when it comes to Epstein's sex trafficking operation is just ridiculous. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General in the state of Florida, where a lot of Epstein's crimes were committed. How about that? She ought to know better. I don't know what's going on with Trump or why he wants this matter to go away. It's not going to happen. We're all talking about real evil done to women and girls by Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, look, there's something from today. Look at this. We got Wyden investigation reveals harms and discrimination faced by LGBTQIA plus youth in residential treatment facilities. All right. So this is pretty interesting. If you wonder if any part of the government is still working, this is interesting enough, right? So let's take a look at this. This is from today. Same website. Again, United States motherfucking Senate Committee on Finance. Finance.senate.gov. Newsroom. Ranking members news. The title of this one is Continuing Epstein Investigation. Wyden probes IRS's failure to investigate sex traffickers' highly lucrative tax planning work. Highly lucrative tax planning work is... Girl, I need to get some of that. All right? I think we all do. Oh, wait, no, it's fucking illegal. God damn. Epstein was paid hundreds of millions for tax planning services, but was neither an accountant nor a tax attorney. Wyden investigation found evidence his work was never audited or investigated. What? That's just crazy talk. Washington, D.C., continuing his years-long investigation into the financing of Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking network. Senate Finance Committee ranking member Ron Wyden, a Democrat from Oregon, wrote to IRS Commissioner Billy Long today demanding to know whether the agency has performed any audits or investigations of Epstein's tax and estate planning services and transactions. Epstein billed himself as an expert financial planner and was paid hundreds of millions of dollars for tax and estate planning advice, including by Wall Street titan Leon Black and other ultra-wealthy individuals. Senator Wyden's investigation into the financial relationship between Black and Epstein obtained evidence showing that none of the transactions or structures Epstein devised for Black were audited by the IRS, whose criminal investigators could have revealed that Epstein's claim of financial expertise was a fucking fraud. Epstein lacked, this is a quote, Epstein lacked any professional training or certifications in accounting or tax law, yet was chosen by very wealthy people to execute very complex tax-related financial transactions. Despite this glaring lack of qualifications that might lead anyone to double-check Epstein's work, it appears that the IRS failed over the course of many years to audit major tax transactions involving Epstein. How about that? Senator Wyden wrote, "It is unthinkable that transactions amounting to tens of millions of dollars paid to a known criminal for the purpose of helping a mega wealthy individual dodge billions in taxes were never audited or investigated." Senator Wyden's letter, which is available for download here, I'm not going to get into all that, but it notes the following. Epstein's tax planning work was a major source of his income. Okay. The majority of the payments from Black to Epstein, approximately $100 million, were made on ad hoc basis without any form of written contract or business services agreement. Okay. Leon Black has failed to provide a satisfactory explanation as to why he chose Epstein to devise a solution to a complicated tax problem, or how that tax problem arose in the first place. Okay. Responding to Wyden investigators, Black's attorneys minimized Epstein's involvement in a specific tax transaction, which Black still paid Epstein $20 million. And then a subnote to that, Black's attorneys stated that Epstein's ideas for the transaction were in the public domain and originated with Black's other legal advisors, and that nevertheless Epstein tried to take credit for the idea and secure compensation. Black's attorneys also claimed that in numerous instances, not all of Epstein's advice was useful, and that Epstein's advice was vetted consistently by Black's other advisors. Here's a quote as well. "These payments were well in excess of expected compensation for tax and estate planning services, particularly in a case where Epstein's work had to be vetted by other legal and accounting professionals, at times was not viewed as useful, and included instances of substantial misrepresentation of tax laws." Senator Wyden's letter continued. "I can't help but question whether this case was legitimate tax planning, or if Black felt obligated to make these payments to Epstein for unstated reasons." Senator Wyden sought the following information from the IRS. 1. A list of all audits or investigations conducted by the IRS related to transactions involving Jeffrey Epstein, including any payments to Jeffrey Epstein for tax planning. Please also provide the status of those investigations and the end result of that audit. 2. A determination as to whether the IRS has evaluated the full scope of any so-called tax planning Epstein provided to wealthy and powerful associates. And 3, an analysis of whether at any point in the last 8 years Epstein's tax planning has been evaluated by the IRS professionals, and whether the IRS has determined whether the value of the services he appropriately matched his reported compensation. Well, that's some interesting shit, though, you know? It's interesting when you look around on the internet, you find shit. Let me know if you have any fucking thing to say about this shit, because it's fucking wild, huh? Alright, you be fucking safe out there. Don't get yourself into no trouble. Oh, bye.